T-minus Super Bowl hours is ticking down. We're just about there. Welcome to RGR Football. Your Chiefs are ready to go. Everything is squared away. We know who's in, who's out, what they're going to try to do. And we're going to tell you the game plan, our keys to getting this done, how they need to go about it, what they need to adjust to, because the reason this is a brawl is because of the coaching staffs, because it's going to be head to head all day long. Welcome into RGR Football. He's Dan Harms. I'm Ryan Tracy. This is your game plan live stream. Did a one for you last night that was a lot of fun. We gave you some of the tips here. We're going to give you our predictions. We're going to give you the keys to this Super Bowl victory, what it means to be a dynasty and what this does for it. Welcome in all of our staple folks. FLDB's in, Cody's in. Nice to see you, Daniel Barry. Stale Pratt. Appreciate you guys on a Saturday afternoon. Not what we normally do, but we want to give you all the information. And now things have kind of solidified a little bit, in my opinion. Anything stand out to you in the last 24 hours?
Well, we did get the activation from IR for Jerick McKinnon, which is not saying he's going to play, but the fact that they're activating him gives hope. There is a lot of will to play in this Super Bowl for Jerick McKinnon. One, he understands what's on the line. Like, he won a Super Bowl last year. He was a huge reason why they won the Super Bowl, going down in bounds there on that last play where Philly said, we're going to let you score. And he said, not so fast, and allowed time to run off the clock. That was a huge play. His presence in that still young running back room is huge for them because Pacheco, yes, they have experience. Clyde Edwards-Helaire have experience, but pass protection and those screen plays that Jerick is so well known for are very huge in games like this, because if you bring him on the field, that's one more thing a guy like Fred Warner has to worry about. And that's the thing. You can make him look at Jerick McKinnon and go the opposite way. So if he does play, I don't expect him to play a ton of snaps, but watch when he's on the field, because they might be able to get some different looks and some different things that they won't be able to without him there.
And it's funny that for both of us being so excited about Jerick, I'm a 17,000 years old McKinnon. Most of the national media is all tied up in the Kadarius Toney talk. Is what he can bring if have they been playing possum all year long with Kadarius Toney? I find that very difficult to believe. Maybe I'm too close to it. I don't know, but it's almost as big a plus right now, like you said, even for 8 or 10 snaps, if you can get Jerick the ball, if he's able to move, and clearly he's cleared by medical, he's recovered from the sports hernia, whatever fracture was going on in his hip seems to be back to normal. He doesn't have to take a pounding. He just has to make some of those last second plays that are the icing on the cake, because the big thing for me as we take a look at this matchup, and we're going to give you all the keys, folks, in all of our key matchups. We're going to mix them all together. We're not going to do the segment thing today because, honestly, I think we're both just too excited to just talk through all this.
I'm too jacked up, man. I'm too jacked up.
It comes down to this. Both these teams and both these coaching staffs are very good coming off of buys. They know each other. There's a revenge and a redemption factor for the 49ers that we cannot deny. That Kyle Shanahan has to go take every risk that he possibly can, and maybe break some of his own tendencies in the process, which I do think is something we have to be on guard for. But the same thing for Andy. And if you guys have seen any of the reports in the last 24 hours, it's obviously not just Andy Reid. The plan's been in for a while. We're going to go over our game plan, which will cover 90% of what the Chiefs are going to do. They're always going to throw us for a little bit of a loop. But it's the gushing accounts of Patrick's preparation this week. And we all know that he's always a guy that's pretty locked in. But to hear everyone who's been able to see and talk to people inside the room to see just how much he's upped his game yet again, to be locked in even more, not to confuse with the Lockdown Podcast Network, you can get with us here later because we had some extra content for you there. I do have things coming just to give you a quick preview. If you would like and sub and hit the bell, we're going to be with you post-game live after this Super Bowl. So do not miss that. We're going to be delayed on Locked On Chiefs. We'll cover that after. So we're going to go right from the get-go here on RGR. As the confetti falls, we will be here. So be with us. We appreciate that. And you can do all that by subbing. If you want all the extra stuff, you can get in the memberships at rookie level and above and get all the notes and the extra vids and the whole 9 yards and all that. But I do have something special for you. A special guest coming is going to do a segment here with us on RGR. You're going to see it on NFL 33. Former GM and NFL Executive of the Year, Randy Mueller, joined me yesterday. And we had a great conversation about this franchise. I think you guys are really going to dig that. So stay tuned for that. It's another reason to get subbed. But one thing that I keep coming back to, And FLDB, thanks for throwing that quote in there. Jeff Darlington's only one of the guys.
Yeah.
But it's that final culmination that they've gone through all the hurdles. They've gone through the wide receiver gaffes and all this stuff. And to still have room to elevate your game yet again this week before this game is something that very few players still have. Patrick's one of them. Kelsey's one of them. Chris Jones is one of them. L'Jarius Sneed is still one of them. And I find it very humorous myself how much people are saying Sneed hasn't been tested that much. I keep hearing national people, especially I've been on radio on both coasts this week, and everybody's like, is L'Jarius really that good? I'm like, well, let's see. He stopped Tyreek. He stopped Stephon Diggs. He stopped everybody else. He's allowed one touchdown all season. You tell me, what do you think? And nobody has an answer for that. And I don't know that the Niners will either.
It's an obnoxious trope at this point. People trying to poke holes into what L'Jarius Sneed has done. All you need to do is go to the teams and the number one wide receivers he's locked down. There's a gigantic list. It's long, and it's the best receivers in football. You could, okay, we have, like you said, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, top 3 receivers in football. You add Stephon Diggs, who's also in there. Devontae Adams, another one that you can just throw out there. He has been up against the best list of number 1 receivers in the entire NFL and come out, for the large part, unscathed. Yes, L'Jarius Sneed is that good, and there's a reason he's going to get a boatload of money this offseason because he's earned it and he's deserving of every single bit. Making that transition from, corner in college to safety in college to slot corner in the NFL to shut down outside corner in one season. Don't forget, one season is unheard of. It's unheard of. We have never seen anybody do that at this level in my memory. Maybe it's happened before, but that moving around stuff, it doesn't happen. And he last year, I'll never forget it. He goes up to Spags and says, I want the number 1. I want every team's number 1. He told the coaching staff that. That's the mentality. That's why he should stay in Kansas City, and the Chiefs should make him their number 1 priority this offseason to re-sign him. That mentality to always want to not just better yourself, but challenge yourself and always be unsatisfied with that. It's unrelenting. He's unrelenting, and I love that.
You have the inevitable and the unrelenting. We were just making teas left and right. Folks, I will have some new designs up for you for the Super Bowl. Either way, I'm going to have something cool for you, but if they win, make sure you check out the RGR store after the ball game.
This is the quote. Patrick Mahomes is inevitable. The Chiefs defense is unrelenting.
I like it. Oh.
Or just the defense. You don't have to say the Chiefs defense, but the defense.
Oh, this is going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah, it's going to be incredible. The X's and O's of it are going to be really, really special as well, because as I look at it, I still feel overall the Chiefs offense has the edge in terms of overall play. Individual players might have better skills. The wide receiver group as a whole is better than the Chiefs in San Francisco. Let's be honest. Christian McCaffrey is a better all-around running back than Isaiah Pacheco is. But the fit and how everybody's used, there is no wiggle room. Everybody has their role now. It took them all season to figure the damn thing out. But now receivers have their role, and they know what they can do. And now it's about twisting and turning the defense to meet your needs. And nobody's better than that scheming right now than Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes coming off of a bye. So you roll all that in together. And I do feel that attacking the Niners defense in particular is something we're going to see swing back and forth. They're going to find where they feel the best execution is, and they will hit the big play when they need it. They will hit that consistent dragging drive that just wears out the Niners defense eventually. I don't think it's going to be early. I think it's going to be late in the second half, in the second quarter, when they really hit their steam, and hopefully it carries over into the second half. That's kind of the game flow that I see. How do you see it?
I'm interested because I think that the 49ers are going to come out with their punch. Like, this is going to be a boxing match where you guys remember the first Rocky IV. You guys seen Rocky IV? Most of you have. Where it comes out and it looks like the Russian is just going to pummel Rocky, but then things kind of even out. They go stride for stride. They go the distance. And at the end of the day, Rocky finally gets in there and just knocks out the rush. And it feels like that might be how this game goes, where the Chiefs are going to have to withstand some blows quickly. The 49ers are going to try and come out and put the hurt on early, whether it's trying to take some of those deep shots, because the Ravens were also able to scheme some guys open. And it wasn't just some of the plays they got. There were some plays left on the field, but that was because of Spags. Spags was forcing Lamar Jackson to be uncomfortable and do some things differently. So whether it's the run game, they're going to have to change what they do, because wide zone and zone is predominantly what they run. And the Chiefs have been excellent against wide zone offenses this year. But what they haven't been very good at is defending those gap power runs up the middle, where they've been able to use misdirection, get linebackers moving, and just kind of, again, what the Bills did a lot of. They mixed up their gap in their zone runs. But I do think this is going to be the 49ers coming out and doing some things differently, like you said, whether that is the gap power run stuff early, because we know Christian McCaffrey can still run all those things. He's not just a wide zone back, but maybe trying some different passing plays. They don't do a ton of rollouts with Brock Purdy. Maybe they try to get him some easy completions early on rollouts. But at the end of the day, I think that Kyle Shanahan's kind of a creature of habit. He's kind of like, you guys remember the Titans? The movie, the fantastic movie, where Coach Boone is talking about the veer. It's like Novocaine, give it time, it always works. It feels like Kyle Shanahan's the same way, right? Where he's going to keep doing his stuff and eventually it's going to work. Spags is like, yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think that's how this is going to go. It's one game. So, but I do feel like it's going to be very much punches early, and you got to stave them off and find that rhythm.
I think that's going to be the most interesting part of it, is not just, as we've illustrated earlier in the week about Kyle and his adjustments versus Spags and his, but it's also going to be about Andy and his adjustments and being able to hold the ball a little bit, let the defense get a good breather. It doesn't have to be sustained 14-play drives, but it does have to be 6, 7, 8 plays. If the Niners are able to get the Chiefs off the field early on offense, that's going to be troublesome. So it's the 1-2 punch of Kyle changing things up and having at least a breather in between your defensive sets that I think is going to be important, because I do think that they can run outside. I am concerned about one particular matchup, and that is going to be whoever has to deal with Trent Williams, because if you're talking about outside zone and getting to the outside, running left is going to be more profitable for them. I think we all can understand why. Obviously, the loss of Charles Omenihu is bigger than most national media are going to give you the information on. It's not just his length inside, it's his length outside, and understanding that he can control the edge while keeping his body disassociated from blockers a lot easier than Mike Dana can, whose reach is significantly different. And that's going to be something that has to be picked up at the team level, the front level, 7 players making adjustments to compensate for that. And I don't think it's all going to be on one guy. I don't think it's all on Mike Dana. I don't think it's all on Malik Herring, although I do think Malik can come in and give you some inside snaps that allow you to move some guys around. And I think that's going to be key, is different looks, fresh looks. And the guy that really stands out to me is I think we're going to see a mix. I want to ask you, before I get into my specific ideas here, do you think that the best way to handle this Niners offense, at least what we've seen through this playoff run, is base or big nickel? Which way would you go?
I don't think you're going to have much of a choice, honestly. But I think I'm leaning towards base. They're going to bring a lot of 21 personnel. They might even run their offensive exclusively out of 21 personnel to keep the Chiefs' base defense out there. I have a wrinkle because I think that they can get 4 linebackers out there in base.
I like the way you're thinking.
Because we know that the Chiefs predominantly use Leo Chanel as that overhang Sam linebacker, but they miss their pass coverage if it's Leo, Drew Tranquil, and Nick Bolton on the field, and that's what the 49ers are going to want, right? But if Leo Chanel comes in as a defensive end, and you can still get Willie out there, you have 4 linebackers on the field in your base personnel, things get different. But also, I know where you're going to go with this, so I'm not going to take your thunder on it. I had this idea. It's not something you can get away with consistently. It's just not. It's more of a change up, something that they haven't seen and that the Chiefs haven't done. But because of the injury to Amenhue, it might be profitable to do that every now and then to keep your options open.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. And I do believe getting as many linebackers on the field as possible is a good thing. It helps in terms of if you can get them bottled up early against the run, so they have to start to tend towards the pass more, then you have your coverage situations. And to double down on your point, where I'm going, and I think you know where I'm going, is
I
it's
know
also
exactly
about
where you're
Leo
going.
Chenal. The great thing about Leo is you can march him out there, whether it's in a 3 linebacker set or, like you said, a 4 linebacker set, which I do think is a sub package that they do. He doesn't have to be an end. The great thing about it is you can send all 3 of your middle linebackers out there, and you can attack what I think is the best when you get in passing down. The best way to attack Purdy is to hit him in the A gaps, in his vision, right off the bat as quickly as possible. And that's what Leo is made for. So he can, line up at edge and give you a 4-man front. He can also walk off the edge and come mug right in the A gap in the kid's face and understand that I'm going to be on you in less than 2 seconds. You don't have a choice, because if you try to double me, Chris Jones right next to me is going to knock you out of this ballgame. So I think Leo is the chess piece that is the fulcrum of every single attack until they get to the point where they want to send the DBs. That's the start of this ballgame for me, is Leo being moved around.
And that's been a huge talking point for pretty much every media, like The Athletic, The Ringer. They've talked about Leo Chenal a lot because he is a chess piece. He's not like this linebacker in the same sense that you think of Nick Bolton or Drew Tranquill. He's different. He is very much a game wrecker. Just get him down on the offensive line, have him cause havoc. The best thing they can do is to throw off the 49ers offense. It doesn't matter how you do it. Make them uncomfortable with what's going on, because they like their runs and they like to just get into what they're doing. But if you throw things off, if you've got guys missing blocks trying to get out wide because Leo Chenal is crashing down in the center so hard that he's in the backfield, you have to change directions. You have to make things go. Or if he does something so crazy that you're trying to get like an end around or like a jet sweep, and he throws the timing off of that, there's so many different things that you can just mess up timing wise with this offense that you just want them to be uncomfortable.
I'm glad that you emphasized the timing, because that's it. And there's two key ways to do that. And that is with your DBs in not allowing clean releases. And it doesn't matter if they get off the ball. Ayuk and Debo are still going to get off the ball. You just have to get them to the point where they're not in the spot that they're expected to be at the right time.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be a huge difference. We're talking like a third to a half of a second, and you've blown the play for the read at the quarterback level. And that's what you have to do. The other way is moving. And yes, I haven't listened to many outside sources this week because I've been super busy. But if I know Nate Tice from our time talking before he was at The Athletic, he's probably going old school with me and saying that there should be a bear front mixed in there somewhere. And that there's going to be double A gap. Okay. So we're on the same page. But all that does is if it's a run play, you have to disrupt the blocking angles. It's not so much about McCaffrey, who I think will exploit any gap that he gets. It's about not allowing that gap to be there because you take away the blocking angles. And on the pass game, it's about taking that timing away. In either case, the Chiefs are set up to do that pretty dang well. Are they a little undersized with Leo, with Mike Dana? Yeah, a little bit. But they can make up for that because they can send a NASCAR package. They can run a bear front with guys standing up. And all a bear front means for you folks, it's back to the 85 Bears where they covered guard, center, guard, and had 2 outside, a little bit wider 7 techniques that allowed you to crash down and clog the middle. It protects Nick Bolton. It protects Drew Tranquill. It allows them to run and cover. And I think that is something I would even mix in bear when it's a passing down. When it's 3rd and 6 plus, I would still do it because, again, if you can make him take an extra step, it blows the timing of their entire pass offense.
Yeah, and I do think that mixing up your fronts 3, 4, 5 down linemen, 2, 3 down linemen, 2 outside linebackers, and in essence with Leo Chenal trying to do that. They've done that before, and it does catch teams off guard, especially when you come out in a 3-4 and then they switch after you've gotten your checks to a 5 down line with 2 linebackers up. It makes things difficult because what you're doing as an offense is that you have this play call set up. You see the personnel on the field. You're like, okay, we have a 4-3 defense. This run works against a 4-3 base defense. We're going to run that. They come out there, they get all the checks right. Chiefs switch to 5-down linemen. And you're like, okay, we can't do that anymore because it changes the angles, it changes the gaps, it changes everything about how you're blocking that same run. So you have to change things up.
And the cool part is they can do that in big nickel as well. If you're running three safeties, you can still move around. And the great thing is you can present that many obstacles or fronts or combinations to the quarterback without having to change your personnel. So there's no timing difference. You're on the field, you're ready to go. And it doesn't matter which way they decide to go. I, too, lean towards going base early. But if they choose to go big nickel, I'm comfortable with that, too, because what that tells me is that they are kind of into that mode that they were in late in the year that, okay, we're going to let you run on us a little bit. We're going to lock you down in the red zone, and we're not going to give up the big pass. And if that's the way they choose to play it, I think it's a little more risky, but I can understand why they would go that direction with the way that the DBs are playing.
The way that Justin Reed's playing against the run, too, you might be able to get away with it. You're going to probably have to play a little dicey, because this is the last game. There is no tomorrow, no matter what. So you might see them come out early just to say big nickel and say Justin Reed's going to kind of float. You might see some early run blitzes because they have to be a little aggressive with the run game. If they come out saying we're going to kind of seed a little bit here and there and see what we can do in the backfield with our players, you're going to have to live with a little bit of what Spags likes to do anyway. So all this is just to say that the defense is so versatile. It's actually kind of like the 49ers offense in the sense that they can change the way they look from any one angle of personnel. The 49ers are going to come out in 21 and in a lot of 12 and try to throw the football out of it. That's what they're going to do after they get some of their run set up. But that's what they want to do. I don't know if Kyle Juszczyk leaves this field. I don't know if he does, because I still think you're going to try to get matchups on linebackers with him. But at the end of the day, I think I can trust Drew Tranquill one-on-one against him, because I think that's what ends up being the case.
Especially Drew, because he has the feel for it. You know what I mean? That
for sure.
It's not like you're trying to get Leo to do it, where he's still, yes, he's come a long way in his coverage, but he's still not that experienced. So I think it is key there. And if this goes the way that we think it will, one of these teams is going to have a fullback be a big part of this offense. So you guys can deal with me after the game when I go off on that. But we're going to get to your questions. Don't worry. Super chatters, we appreciate you. If you want to get on the show today, make sure you put in a super chat. We're not going to have a ton of time for questions because we're going to get through a bunch of it. If you guys would hit the like, we would appreciate that, and spread the word. Share it on other social media. I don't do much on Facebook or Instagram or anything, so if you want to share that, that'd be great. On the other side of the ball, I do think that it is up to, and man, that ties in back to Kyle as well. And before I get there, the difference is that normally, like you saw with Buffalo, and certainly I think you even saw it with the Ravens, who wanted to run. Eventually, if you defend the run well early, they will go away from it. I think that takes a lot longer for Kyle Shanahan because he has so many wrinkles and he has so much faith in doing it. So you have to stay the course a lot longer for him. And that on the other side of the ball means you have to use the run as your weapon as well, because it is a time balance thing. You can't be having 3 and outs or 5 and outs and put the defense right back onto the field because Kyle's got too many wrinkles to throw at them. So you have to protect your defense by allowing you to hold the ball a little bit longer. I know there's going to be options. And the best thing is, like we've seen all playoff stretch, if you do that and you maintain the Pacheco runs, and maybe you give, obviously, Clyde a little bit as well, as long as you're keeping it honest and you're keeping that time, 3-4 minutes at a minimum per drive of game time, I think is really the threshold here where you're protecting the defense enough. And then you take your shots. I think that's coming. Where would you like to see them start, whether it's the first 15 or just in general, philosophically attacking the Niners defense?
So we're going to go right to, we were right. Okay. Ryan and I were right. All right. And I'm going to get deep into it right now because I've got some really great stats about the Chiefs team, regular season and postseason. All season, actually, since Isaiah Pacheco became the running back 1 for the Chiefs, we were like, zone is not the way. That's not his game. It's not what he does best. This season, their run game struggled. Regular season, they ran 28% gap run plays. From weeks 1 to 18, only 21%. That's it. In the postseason, it has gone up to 48%. 48. They have 40 gap runs to 42 zone runs. in the postseason. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take a victory lap real quick because that is what we've been asking for. And their run game's gotten way better in the postseason. Way better. It's gotten more successful against stacked boxed runs as well. 38% success rate in the postseason. That's huge for them because in the regular season, they were 37% success rate and they were 16th in the NFL. So they've gotten better against those stacked box runs. It's a little bit better, but in the postseason, you're not getting a ton of stacked boxes. You're getting more light boxes because they don't want to deal with Patrick Mahomes. So when you do see those, they're taking advantage of it and they're doing better. Also, one more thing before we get into what I want them to do is in the regular season, yes, they ran the most 13 personnel sets, fourth most in the NFL, 7% of their usage, okay? But they also had 28% 12 personnel, all right? We know that they're going to run a lot of 12 personnel. That's not surprising. It's, maybe their best personnel group. In the postseason, they brought their 13 personnel grouping up to 19% of the time. So that's a 7 to 19%, which is huge. And they've kept 12 personnel at 26%. So they've used a lot more tight ends, period, which has helped the run game, but also their pass efficiency has gone up because people are like, well, they're not going to run the ball or they're not going to pass the ball out of 13 personnel, which they love to do. All that stuff that we've been asking for them to do is starting to show itself in the postseason, and that's where they got to start. Patrick Mahomes and Isaiah Pacheco need to be on the same page because they're going to run some RPOs, but you need to hand the ball off, and they're going to attack this 49ers defense early in the run game. It's coming downhill. I expect to see some counter, some duo early, maybe even some just single back power, just something to get Trey Smith moving, get him in the run game, and get Isaiah Pacheco downhill quickly. I do think they're going to expect that. So watch for them to do maybe like a play action pass on first down because the 49ers defense has been bad in the postseason, especially against the run. The reason is because they care more about pass rush. They get after the pass rush far more, and they're really more a pass rush defensive line. So I think they might come into this game being like, okay, we're going to stop the run, we're going to stop the run. And I think you might see on the first play of the game a play action pass that goes for like 20 yards because of that. So regardless, I do think that they've been more willing to run the football. Those numbers show it, and they've been more successful doing it. And I expect them to do that in this game.
Yeah, as long as they stay in their plan, I think that's exactly what we'll see. If something is thrown out of whack and they have to feel like they have to adjust what they're trying to do, you just worry about them going away from it. And that's a natural tendency we just have to guard for. We've all seen it before. I don't think that's the way that it goes down. I think this ties into my first big key of the game. Actually, I already probably did one. We'll call this number 2. But I do want to say, folks, I do see questions coming in. We are going to get to questions here in a little bit. We're going to hit all the super chats. I am going to forego anything non-super chat that is not Super Bowl related. So the agency draft, we're not going to cover that today. We are focused on this big game. So we want to make sure of that. So just hold tight. Cody's going to be first. In fact, we'll just take his now. For those of you that are late coming in, McKinnon was activated. Dan thinks he'll be on the active roster. I tend to think that as well. Again, we don't know how many snaps, but that's the way that we're leading. Thank you, Cody, as always. Okay, so second big key for me is going to be this. We don't usually have to say this about the Kansas City Chiefs. At least we haven't for the last few years. But I think in terms of game flow itself, particularly about staying ahead of yourself on your play call sheet, they have to score first and take the lead. They have to play from out front. Niners are built to play out front themselves. And when they fall behind, I don't feel, despite comebacks against the two NFC North teams, I don't care. I don't think they can come back on this defense. So you take that lead early, you put yourself in the driver's seat to be able to just wriggle away a couple of possessions. And next thing you know, you're out to a double-digit, double possession, triple possession lead.
I'm not sure if I want to see them start with the ball, though.
Fair.
I feel more comfortable. I think the team feels more comfortable when they get the ball in the second half. And honestly, I think this team strives and is better when their defense starts. I think that they love that challenge. I think that they absolutely want that. So, like, it doesn't matter. They still have to limit. I'll say this. limit the 49ers to a field goal or nothing on their opening drive. No touchdowns. That's the big thing here. I don't care so much if they get a field goal. That's fine, because I think that Patrick Mahomes in this offense will put drives together against this defense. I
agree.
I've been
And I think
struggling with
Dan
this
had a little
all
connection
week.
problem there, but
Oh yeah,
3 points isn't over worrisome, because you feel like in your next drive, especially if you get the ball second, you're going to come right back and you're going to have an opportunity to take that lead, especially if you only give up 3. Sorry, you cut out there, Dan, but
that's
continue
okay.
on.
Just weird. I'm saying I feel more comfortable with them kicking the ball away, getting defense on the field early. I do think that's where they're best. And I don't think it matters in terms of they'll go down and score. If they have the ball like they did against the Eagles in the Super Bowl, I think that's still very, very possible. But I think personally, the team feels more comfortable putting the defense out first, because let's be very honest, they have been the reason that the Chiefs are here. There's zero doubt about that. The offense has been good in the postseason. They don't get here without the defense. They don't.
I completely agree with you. And I feel like emotionally, putting the defense out there with the guys who just don't give a rip about anything, like Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed, I feel like that sets the tone early of just give me your best shot and I'm going to smack you around. And I just couldn't care less. And I think that overflows and boosts the offense a little bit. Not that they need a huge boost. And Doug, I did see your latest question. We will address that probably in the flow of the conversation, but if not, we will definitely come back to that. Because I think as much as it's about on the field, the matchup is really intriguing. These are two of the most versatile teams, particularly when the Niners on offense are on the field against the Chiefs defense. The permutations that you can go through these versatile squads around those particular units, I think, is probably the best that we've seen in a couple of years. And it looks like my internet's having some trouble. I am in a snowstorm today, folks. So if I freeze, I'm just going to keep yakking. It's going to be what it is. But
I haven't heard any cut out from you, so that's good.
Okay, cool. So bottom line is, whatever we've seen in the past, and maybe Andy has been playing possum on the offensive side. I don't think Spags has as much, but I do know he has more depth to his bag. I do feel that we're going to see them go through more adjustments. This has to be everything has to be adjusted at least on a quarterly scale, if not more so. We all know about halftime adjustments, and a lot of teams do that when they have a chance to regroup. I don't think in this ballgame there's going to be a chance to regroup. I expect this to be a fist fight the entire time. You guys will hear our predictions before the end of the show, and I think that that's going to be important, but it's not going to be a large margin for me. I think these teams are really, really versatile and have the ability to kind of attack each other in so many different ways that it is going to be back and forth.
Last year was kind of the same. It was a little bit different than we expected, but it went back and forth all game. And it came down to one last possession at the end of the football game. And again, I'm leaning the same direction. And I was on with the 49ers channel earlier this week, and I'm just like, it just feels that way. And I don't think that Brock Purdy's fourth quarter heroics this postseason gets it done. Because let's look at the teams that they've played. The Green Bay Packers defense, which got humiliated most of the season, let's not forget. And the Lions secondary, which was maybe the worst in the NFL. And he needed to throw the football in both of those games to come back to it. There's one team that has been and has the best all-around secondary and will be the most difficult that he's ever faced in the fourth quarter. It'll be the Chiefs defense, and that's what he's going to have to look at. And I do expect them to have the lead at multiple times if it's back and forth in this football game. So that's just something to pay attention to. Is yes, I think Brock Purdy's done a fantastic job in this offense. He's elevated what they can do because of his skill set and his athletic ability. It's better than anything that Jimmy Garoppolo has ever done in his entire career. But the limitations are real. If you go look at that Lions defense when they blitzed him and they pushed that pocket back, how many of, like Ryan was talking about earlier, how many of those passes were off the mark? Nearly every single one in the first half. Nearly every one. And the Lions stopped blitzing in the second half. I don't know why, but they stopped. And here come the 49ers offense. It's not that hard to see how you beat Brock Purdy in this offense. Timing and take away his ability to see, because he is a short guy. He's
Yeah,
a
he's not the
short
biggest
dude. So I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, because it's not, because they're going to find ways to counterpunch. And Kyle
Agreed.
Shanahan is one of the best at doing that in the NFL. But it's not hard to see a path where if they force the 49ers into a negative game script where they have to throw the football, there's a lot you can do against Brock Purdy.
Yeah. And it's not just that he is a smaller dude, which he is. I mean, just getting the guards in the center up so that they can't hunker down and anchor low, that helps. Certainly getting the paws up will help. But it's also about the fact that what I feel Brock Purdy's strength is correct me if you guys have heard this before, it's a lot like Bailey Zappi. He reads very well. He can distinguish defenses. He makes decisions very well. I don't think his throwing motion itself is that quick compared to anybody else in the league. I don't think he's lightning once he decides to do it. It's getting to the decision point that is his strength, in my opinion. And so if you can clog any of that and slow down any of that processing in any way, whether it's the DBs or the front, that all contributes to slowing down his ability to get the ball out quickly, which is the one thing that can move the ball on this defense. So I think that's going to be a theme throughout it, and it's going to be attacked a number of different ways. But before we get to the questions here, and our predictions coming up later in the show, gotta hook you guys up, because right now I'm getting questions in the chat about some of this as well. And this comes down to this: be a new customer if you want in the action at Underdog Fantasy. They support us. Go support them. Use our code RGR, and you can get in on this Super Bowl special. Right now, they're even giving something away. I'm not going to use it today, but you guys certainly can, because this is, I mean, there's very few options that are better than this. And that is, you can take Patrick Mahomes, and one of your bets can be that he throws a yard.
Yeah, there you go.
That's pretty simple.
You got that one.
All you got to do is click that. The nice thing about this, and we're going to walk you through, as we usually do on the game plan, how you can get in the pick'ems here. And again, if you sign up at Underdog Fantasy, you can do it with our code RGR, and that helps this channel and helps them, and you get in the action. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're just going to pick fantasy points, because that's what I can do out here in Colorado. And it comes down to Brock Purdy. And we're going to have to open each of these guys up. But when you take a look at what the line is, the way it works on Underdog is that they're going to give you a number, and you just choose whether you think that player is going to do more or less of what they're saying. You don't have to prove it. You just have to put your opinion out there. And they have him at 17.5 fantasy points. Now, this is understanding that a passing touchdown is 4 and a rushing touchdown is 6, which I think both these quarterbacks are going to be in a position with a lot of man getting going, I think, to maybe make some of those runs. So we do have to take that into account. But when we're looking at Brock Purdy against the Chiefs defense, that seems like a lot of fantasy points to me. Maybe I'm underestimating, but 17.5 on his arm solely seems a little high to me. I would likely take the lower here, but how do you feel about Brock Purdy against the Chiefs D?
Yeah, I think it's going to be their key for this game is running the football. Like, if this is more Christian McCaffrey based than it is Brock Purdy, because if it's on his arm, I think that plays into what the Chiefs do well, regardless of how good all of their weapons are. It comes down to the quarterback, and I think that they can affect him in multiple ways. So 17 points seems like a lot. For me, I don't think this is going to be a game where it was the Lions high scoring type. I don't think it's going to be like that, and we'll get to our score predictions. But I see this again more of a Christian McCaffrey based game if they do end up pulling off the victory than a Brock Purdy throwing for a bunch of yards. So I would also go lower on that.
Okay, we're going to take that. And it's right at the threshold. 2 of the last 3 games have been high, but again, the Detroit one was a big comeback where they were in that script where he had to do it. It could be the same situation here, but they didn't have Trev McDuffie and Jerry Sneed. So I know Juwan Jennings is a good player. He's come up pretty well for them in some situations. And yes, he could be used. I think Kittle's going to get a couple of plays. But when you're taking away, and you're going to be able, I don't think anybody gets shut down, but these 2 guys are probably the most 2 capable that Debo and Ayuk have seen this season. So there's no reason to feel like you're going to be able to do what you were able to do against the Lions. That's just the way that it rolls. Now, on the other hand, there's obviously QB1 has got a different kind of deal going on. I do believe, and I looked at this before we started the stream, it's a bigger number, and one that I am hemming and hawing about. Just short of 20 points here. That's a lot of points in a game that I don't feel is going to be that high scoring. we're going to talk about, folks are asking about some bets. We're going to help you out with our friends over at DraftKings if you just want to bet some numbers here. But again, only 4 points for a passing touchdown in this system. I can't doubt Patrick, so I'll take the higher, but I think it's going to be hair of the chinny chin chin.
Man, it's again, I think I'm leaning towards Isaiah Pacheco getting in the end zone.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to take the lower on that. And it's not anything to do with him. It's about, again, running the football in this game for both teams is going to negatively impact the fantasy points of the quarterback. So I'm just going to say lower because it's, you guys will understand when you hear my prediction in this football game. But I think that Isaiah Pacheco will also get a rushing touchdown. So I'm going to say lower.
I concur, and I'm right on the line. I got to do one of these yesterday. We're going to follow Dan's picks today. McCaffrey, even higher at 21.55. Again, 6 points for rushing touchdown, 6 for receiving touchdown, both of which could be on the table here.
Yeah.
I got to go lower than that because I just don't think the Chiefs defense gives up 21.5 points to Christian McCaffrey.
I don't think so either. It's more of the reception stuff. Like, is he going to see a high volume of receptions if the Chiefs are funneling tight? Honestly, they should attack tight end and running back, and that's how it should be. I'm just wondering how they're going to parse it out. I think McCaffrey can get to that number because I also think he's scoring in this game regardless. So, it's tough. What are his last couple of games? If you could give those,
take a look. 27, 28, and 11 against the Commanders of all things.
That's weird. That's weird.
That was week 18, right? Yeah.
It had to have been. So he must not have played very much.
Yeah.
All right. We'll take the lesser.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm feeling sort of way.
I'm feeling sort of way. All right. So we can still go a number of ways with Isaiah, with Ayuk, Rashee, Kittle or Kels, or even Debo. And Elijah Mitchell for some reason, and Justin Watson. Everything's on the line and available.
Everything. Let's go to the Pacheco real quick.
Pacheco, yes. I like it. Here we go. So fantasy points for Isaiah Pacheco is projected at 14.95, significantly lower than Christian McCaffrey. No big deal. But again, he's got to score, and that would put him at needing what? 80 plus yards, 90 yards? Yeah, taking the higher.
Go take the higher. Isaiah Pacheco going to have a couple of receptions in this game too. I'm a big fan of him in this football game. Can you scroll up to his touches, or his rushes real quick? Because I think that's set at 16.5, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Just so we know, he has beaten that every single game in the playoffs.
So I think you guys, if you are in Missouri or Kansas and you can do these pick'ems where you have the actual ability to use their rushing totals, their touch totals, their rushes, I think Isaiah Pacheco higher than 16.5 rushes in this game is a very fun and good.
Agreed.
Is a good bet to make.
Absolutely. I dig that as well. Okay, we are well on our way. We have one more entry left to take.
Oh, you pick it. You pick it.
I don't think there's any reason to do anything other than Travis Kelce. This is going to go down as a Kelce game, I think, if only that he draws so much attention for everyone else. So the line becomes 75 receiving yards is what they're looking at, 7 receptions. If you are in a state where you can do that, I'd take them both. If you come down to the fantasy, that's where I'm iffy. 15 points.
That's it. Higher.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce's getting a touchdown in this football game.
Okay.
They are going to funnel him the football. You guys saw what they did against the Baltimore Ravens. They're going to put him in the slot. They are going to ask their safeties to cover Travis Kelce. They cannot do it. They can't do it. It's not possible. They are going to get every single mismatch they possibly can. Travis Kelce is going to have 15 targets in this game. I feel like it's going to be a let it all hang out for Travis Kelce in the Super Bowl.
Okay. Well, it comes down to this. As Dan has made all these together, but Dan's picked a couple of them. If we go insured right here, we have a 30-1 outcome. So, I mean, we're going triple digits to see if we can really bring home the bacon in this one. You comfortable with that? Or would you rather go insured for 1,500?
Let's go.
Yeah? Okay. Soul Doing American. We are in, folks. Hope that you are. Again, go sign up and make sure that you can get in the action with our code RGR on Underdog Fantasy. They've been great to us this season. We're looking forward to having them back next. You can help make that happen by getting connected with them and signing up yourself if you want to get into it. Now, I know there's some folks asking about some other DraftKings related stuff. We'll get to that coming up, and we are going to start the questions here just as soon as. Do you want to do predictions first? You want to mix it up, or you want to lay the predictions at the end?
I'd rather have the end. I'd rather do it at the end.
All right. Then we're going to go back to the top. And Night Hunter, thank you for the support, buddy, as always. Anyone else tired of hearing the 49ers complaining about everything that's happened is KC's fault? I know I am. Ren, Dan, you're the best. Thank you, Knight. You are the best, and thank you for being here. I don't mind that they're complaining. I'd be bitching and moaning, too, if somebody set off the fire alarm. But that ain't the Chiefs' fault.
It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter when you're supposed to get up. I know people are making this thing, well, if they're supposed to get up soon, anyway, it doesn't matter. It ruins, it's a routine thing, okay? If it happened to the Chiefs, they'd also be complaining because they should, just like the field stuff. You think if the Chiefs were practicing on that field that they would not be complaining? They absolutely would, because they should. So I can't get with all of that stuff. Like, you're in a routine. You're in a routine. You do stuff certain times in certain ways, and when it is thrown off, it irritates you. Go back to the Baltimore Ravens game where Justin Tucker is doing something when the Chiefs are trying to do their warm-ups. It's in their way. So they did not take kindly to it. Yep. The 49ers are going to do the same thing either. So I got no problems with them complaining because, again, routine-based things.
But the big thing that Night Hunter here said, I do agree with. That was on Tucker, right? That was personal responsibility. None of these things are the Chiefs' fault.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a problem in your hotel. And honestly, the practice facility was determined before the season began. The NFC was always going to practice at UNLV on those fields. It was not up for debate. It was not a random assignment. It was when the season began and they had no clue who was going to make it to that. So I agree with you that the Niners fans are going a little bit overboard. Even the Niners are themselves. I'm a little bit more just kind of like dumbstruck by, Bosa continuing to say, well, they hold every play. So does everybody in every league and every game. Yep. So shut up.
So do you, buddy.
Yeah, right. I hate to tell you. So thank you, Night Hunter. We appreciate you. As Dan would say, Snead is that dude.
He's a dude. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's that dude.
No way around it. Handyman, I appreciate you. Chris Broussard's still down in the Chiefs D. Yeah, well,
Chris Broussard's a basketball guy. I don't care what he says. I have literally zero care. I don't care. It's him, Skip Bayless, Mad Dog, Stephen A. These guys don't know football. They don't know ball at all. They're just here to talk. I don't care what they say.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. And I've seen a lot of people talking about, basketball players projecting. Why in the hell would you think that that's anything worth noting? I mean, that'd be like me trying to tell you how the Mavs are going to do next season. I have no clue because I don't care about that sport.
It's like me telling you about how the Olympics are going to go down this year. Right, like all these different things. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I'm going to tell you. Tell you.
Mr. Hanneman, thank you. We appreciate you. Drunken German. Now we officially have a pair of CBs that are good or better than Hasty and Carter. I want to be with you, but I'm not quite there yet. Hasty and Carter were elite for multiple seasons. They are there. It's a little bit different in today's era, though, knowing that McDuffie is a slot corner, that he has to do that. And I think that is a distinction we should make. But they are nearly on that spot. I'm really there with you. Okay.
Yeah.
Kyle,
crazy
thoughts on Spags' ability to scheme one-on-ones for Chris to get him singled up. I don't think the Niners' right side can hold up versus Jones. I think any of the interior three are susceptible, but how do you feel and what do you think he should do to try to make that happen?
It's going to be keep away. He's not going to rush near Trent Williams. There's zero reason to do that. It's the same reason why you're not going to see George Karlaftis rush off that side. He doesn't rush on that side anyway. He rushes off the right-hand side of the offensive line. That's what he's always done. So you're probably going to see a lot of Chris Jones and George Karlaftis on the same side. And I think that plays a lot into what they should do. But also, you might see Mike Dana line up on the nose, George Karlaftis on the inside, and Chris Jones on the outside on that right-hand side. That could be a lot of fun, too, and just sacrifice somebody to Trent Williams because they still might. And then you might see a slot blitz off that right-hand side, too. I would be doing everything possible to just create all kinds of havoc. We might have lost Ryan. I can't tell if he's there or
think
not.
I'm
Or
back.
did I lose? Okay, we're good. He's back.
You never know. It's one of those days, folks. We're supposed to get a foot of snow here, so we're working on it. Joe, I love you guys. Usually I don't make the lives. Oh, rock on. But listen to the Rage on Locked On Chiefs regularly. Keep up the great work. Let's go. Thanks,
Thank
Joe.
you.
Appreciate you. I'll try not to let the rage out. Hopefully we have no reason for rage, knock on wood. Doug, wanted to say thanks to Dan and all the RGR crew for the film room coverage and all the hard work. Yeah, Dan is knocking it out, dude. And I applaud you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
It takes more time than just looking at it recording live, folks. It's research. It's for everything you see on screen, there's at least 4 times as much work off screen. So thanks for pointing that out, Doug.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Doug. Appreciate you, Doug.
And I appreciate you taking it over so I'm not doing it every week.
No problem.
Dylan, first off, thank you for being the best Chiefs contact. Cheers to you. We appreciate you thinking that. I had a blast with you all, chat included. Awesome. Lastly, what were the best Ds the Niners played and how did they do? Let's go Chiefs. I think clearly the best defense that they played was the Cleveland Browns. Do you disagree?
I think Baltimore's defense was better. Cleveland's is just a little bit different, and they played in rain too. So I kind of discount that a little bit. Okay. But also the Vikings defense is probably going to be closest to what the Chiefs do. If you go back and watch that football game with all the different ways that Brian Flores was messing with the offense, that might be the game that they watch the most because it fits what they do a lot. You're going to see some things from the Ravens too. But I think that the Ravens were the best team that they played on defense. I think this game might look a lot like what the Minnesota Vikings did earlier in the season.
Okay. I don't mind that. That works just fine for me. Nikki, why do you think Purdy wasn't drafted higher? He wasn't in a prolific offense in college at Iowa State. He did have a tight end whose name escapes me right this moment. They had a decent hookup, but he's an undersized guy that doesn't have an elite arm. The Drew Brees comparisons are real. Like he does have some of the vision issues, and he doesn't have the gigantic arm to make up for it. And honestly, Drew's was very, very good. It wasn't elite either. So you always saw Drew have to use his lower body. I think that's a very apt comparison. And I think that's probably the big reason, Nikki. Do you see anything else, Dan?
I mean, it looked like his first season at Iowa State, he was on the right path. And every year after that, he got progressively worse. He made a lot of mistakes. And the biggest reason he still does, by the way. He makes quite a bit of mistakes. He forces throws. And the only reason that they came back in that football game is because the Lions guy who was covering Brandon Ayuk dropped a clear interception that careened off his helmet, off his face mask. That was a 50 throw that he never should have been thrown to the defender. Let's not forget that actually happened, okay?
Yeah.
That did happen. It didn't just disappear because Ayuk caught the football. He makes poor decisions, but in that offense, he was forced to do a lot more of the work, of the heavy lifting. He was asked to do everything at Iowa State. He had David Montgomery there for, I think, a year. Maybe a year. Maybe he was there right after he left. I don't remember exactly, but it wasn't a good offense, and he got progressively worse as a quarterback as the seasons went along. And the reason he's good in the 49ers offense right now is because he's point and shoot, essentially. It's first read, go. If not, you can make some extension plays. Like he's a good athlete out of the pocket. He can still throw the ball down the field with accuracy, but he can't throw a guy open. If you ask him to go get you a bucket when you get outside the pocket and you got guys covered downfield, typically he's not going to go get you a bucket. Now, we saw him go and make some plays with his legs, which he can do. Again, he's a better athlete than a lot of the 49ers quarterbacks of the past, recent past. So the reason that's the basic reason he wasn't drafted higher is just because bad offense. He continued to just kind of progressively get worse as his seasons went along, and teams are like, no, we're good.
Well, I'll even go a step further. Much like Andy Reid is the perfect fit for Patrick Mahomes, I do feel Kyle Shanahan is the perfect fit for
absolutely.
So, I mean, you feel bad for guys like Des Ridder that are stuck in an offense that can't help them overcome some of their deficits. There are a lot of quarterbacks in this league. They're just like that.
For sure.
So kudos for Purdy for taking the reins when he gets a good opportunity.
Absolutely.
Family man, Rantan, is it me, or do you guys believe, like I do, that the defense will win this game for us? Like on a turnover or something like that? I mean, it could certainly happen. But I think that just their steady play sets them up to win for sure.
I think this is going to be complementary football. So they're going to continue to do what they've done, but we've seen the Chiefs offense get better. They start doing better things, what they've done well in the postseason, and they will continue to try to play more complementary football. It's just going to be something we're not used to seeing. Last year, that 34-30, 38-35 game in the Super Bowl, that was what the Chiefs defense kind of felt like, is still getting everything figured out. And this year it's completely different.
Yeah. Justin, thank you for the support. Appreciate you. I feel like Pat is going to be able to have his best Super Bowl of his career. Thoughts? I mean, in terms of efficiency, I would completely agree with you. If he continues to be this guy that is regimented and tactical in his delivery, yes, I agree. Will he have the biggest stats of his career? I don't think so, because I do think the run game is going to be prevalent on both sides, and I think that will limit his total stats.
Yeah, he's being a game manager in the postseason. Let's be honest, but that's what they need from him. They just need him to not make the big mistakes and to not have the ball put into positions where it can be intercepted, or just more throwaways, or just make the right decision. He's not being asked to be 2018 Patrick Mahomes. That's the big difference, and he doesn't have to be. This defenses, the way that they play them, are not built to be that way. So it's perfectly fine with me if he just is really, really efficient and they just move the ball down the field.
I'd love it if it's a game where you don't need Patrick to be magic. That would be
fantastic.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Justin. Thank you, Joseph. Nice to see you, buddy. Happy Super Bowl Eve. Do you think that we see Tony McKinnon in this game? We talked about McKinnon at the top. I don't think anything's changed for me. We do expect to see him a little bit if he's going to be on the roster. I am just totally at a loss for what's going on with Kadarius Toney.
The fact that he was at the interviews and stuff, I don't know, man. I think McCole Hardman plays more in this game, because one of the ways you can really get after, we saw the game last year against 49ers, the jet sweeps just got after them, and you might see more of that.
Yep.
But I find it hard to think that Kadarius Toney plays a snap in this football game that's not a punt return, at best. So,
do you even feel it's safe to let him punt return?
No, but I think maybe you do it as like a psych out. You put him out there, maybe try to get into the punter's head. Just tell him, fair catch it.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
I won't argue. I tend to think that if he plays at all, it would be in the special teams. I don't think that he does personally.
I don't think so either.
Let me change that. I wouldn't play him personally.
Okay. That's a better answer.
Joseph, thank you as always. Doug, thank you. How
Appreciate
confident are you in Nick Allegretti? I am 1,000% confident in Nick Allegretti to play his best game. His best game is only about 85% of Joe Thuney's best game. But that is enough to get a win, and I expect and I trust that Nick Allegretti will be ready to play at his best, and that is good enough to get a win.
When the stakes were highest, they asked Nick Allegretti to come in cold out of an injury like that. And he talked after that game about how the team got him ready.
Mm-hmm.
The camaraderie, the love that these teammates have for each other, it gives these players more confidence than what we saw in the Super Bowl 3 years ago. It's a completely different feeling. It's also a guy who has starting experience. This is not just some run-of-the-mill backup that's going to be coming in. He started the entire 2020 year for the Chiefs, and he was a good left guard. And he was really good last week. He's going to get beat every now and then, but he got beat one time by Justin Madubuike. One time he lost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I ask.
Yeah.
You can get just beat one time, fine. That's perfectly okay. It sets them up perfectly.
Yeah. And he's been in these Super Bowls before. I think that's the unwritten thing. We talk about all training camp. You guys remember when we were doing our projections, we're talking about who's going to make this. Can they keep 9? Do they keep 8? What do they do? First guy after the starting 5 was always Nick Allegretti, and specifically for these reasons, because he is that good, and he is that good as a backup that can fill in or be the 6th or whatever you ask him to do. And that is just hard to find these days.
Yeah.
Hope that answered it, Doug. Cody, per Chiefs, they activated McKinnon from the reserve. Yep. Activated practice squad player Mike Pennell via standard elevation. Place Joe Thuney on injured reserve, which they didn't even really need to do, but yes. This is what we had expected. I'm a little bummed because I had hoped to see Bugs come up because of the run block stopping aspect.
Yeah.
But clearly, they're just keeping that in reserve. We'll go with it. I do think there will be four, maybe 5 times that we say tomorrow, I wish Derek Nottie was out there against that run. That's bound to happen. But Mike Pennell's been playing pretty good for a dude who's coming off the couch.
It's honestly, it's incredible to see some of what he's done. And you're not going to be able to replace what Derek Nottie brings. And it's even Derek Nottie wouldn't necessarily be enough on some of the plays that we're going to see from the 49ers. It's just how it is. They are that good in the run game. They're going to find some ways to run. And I do think early on it's going to be testing the gap and testing the power stuff to see what they can get away with. Because again, it's not in their wheelhouse to pivot from their zone run game. They run a ton of it. So I do think that they should attack that way early, but there's just nothing to be said about what missing Derek Nottie and having a real run stuffing defensive tackle helps. But I also think that Chris Jones, Super Bowl Chris Jones, playoff Chris Jones, trying Chris Jones is a much better run defender than he is during the regular season.
We should see epic, like never seen before Sasquatch Chris Jones in this game. It could be his last as a Chief. We've talked about that ad nauseum.
Yeah.
Whether he's trying to get back, I hope that they can pull that off, or whether he's playing for what is going to be a contract that's going to be epic. Sasquatch Chris Jones is going to be here. Get those arms up. It's going to be fun to watch. Go KC forever, or go for KC forever. Thoughts on gambling side? I was wondering if I take the Chiefs at 6.5 points and bet 200. Do they like bets like that? You can do all of that stuff at our pals over at DraftKings. Again, you can use our code RGR, and that will help you out because they have all that and more, my friend. So just hit DraftKings up. You can download an app. You can go to the website, whichever you prefer. Just use the code RGR when you sign up. You'll get a nice discount. They'll match you as well. And I don't know what the lines are. I have not looked since Monday. But then I believe the gap was 2.5, not 6.5. So you might be even better. I haven't looked since then. So I think it's actually contracted a little bit. You should be in like Flynn. So let us know how that goes, Casey. And then you also had another question here on Super Chat. Appreciate the support, pal.
Thank you.
I'm ready for another Super Bowl win. Go Chiefs in back-to-back and Mahomes back-to-back. By the way, I have some cool ideas. Let's hope that they pull this off, or else they're never going to see the light of day. But if they do, I think you guys are going to want to dig some of the stuff that I put together. But appreciate the support, buddy. And back-to-back, you're going to see the word dynasty on a bunch of stuff from me if they pull this win. So just be prepared for that. Might as well start it now. Cody had a nice comment here, and thank you for the super chat, buddy. Cody is one of our members. You can see that by the icon next to his name. If you want to get into the behind the scenes, get into our members only Discord, that's Rogue Nation. You can sign up at the rookie level or above. There's a join button underneath Dan that you can click right now or after the stream and get signed up, and you can get that icon as well. 2, Joshua Williams and 35, Jalen Watson have quietly upgraded their play this season. I'm not sure I agree wholeheartedly, but where do you stand, Dan?
I think Josh Williams upgraded his play in the postseason, and that's probably why he's playing and Jalen Watson really isn't playing. But I think that they've just been put in slightly better positions. I don't think that the regular season, they did not play very well. I'll be very honest. It did not look like they played very well. But in the postseason, Joshua Williams' game has elevated. And I don't think that Jalen Watson's been getting as much playing time, but it does feel like they're a lot like this team. In the postseason, they do raise their game. So I'm not quite sure I'm there with upgraded this season, but in the postseason, they definitely have. And Josh Williams has been earning playing time in the postseason.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. It has been an evolution. I think Jalen solidified his play. He's not making as many splash plays and not making many gross mistakes down the stretch, the last half of the regular season. But I agree with you completely about Josh. And they're going to need them both here. Juwan Jennings is a physical guy. He's most likely to be lined up on one of those dudes. So he's the third matchup. Also, if they play those condensed splits where they bring all the wide receivers down, especially if they go to a condensed 3-by-1,
they will.
Jalen and Josh are going to see George Kittle. And that's going to be an opportunity and a stress for me, I got to tell you.
Yeah. Not looking forward to that.
No. But Cody, I hope that they continue the streak that you're seeing. Thanks, buddy. And we appreciate your support as always. Kelly Church, welcome to the memberships.
Thank you,
Again,
Kelly.
if you joined at rookie level or above, I won't see it till later. You can just go over Discord and in your settings, you can connect your YouTube account. That'll automatically upgrade you so you get full access to Rogue Nation. And that's where FLDB and Stevie Keys kind of run the shop. They're always in there, and there's a bunch of folks. We appreciate you. Love the caps. Thanks, Doug. We appreciate that. You can get this one as well as all the other ones, the Mahomes logo, the whole nine thing. You can get it at our store. There's a link in the description. You can also just search RGR Store Spring, and you will find it next to immediately. So thank you guys for hanging out. Joe, how concerned are you about Fred Warner, and what about him specifically? I mean, is there a better linebacker in the league right now?
I don't know. I doubt it. You just kind of have to chalk it up to he's going to get his.
Yeah.
There are ways to minimize his impact for the game, as we saw in last season. Actually, they were able to do some things differently, mostly because they just decided they were going to play single high safety like all game, and Patrick was like, "Hey, we're going to start chucking it. We're going to start chucking it," and that takes him out of the game. So I don't think you're going to see a ton of that. I think you're still going to probably see a top put on because they will attack downfield. They will. Patrick Mahomes said it. He's like, I'm not going to make the plays if they're not there. But if it's there, I'm still going to throw the football. And he did it 2 weeks ago to seal the game to MVS. So when the opportunities are there, he's going to take those. So you just have to understand that Fred Warner is going to make splash plays. He's going to make negative plays. He's going to get out there on the edge of the offense and the edge of the defense and get a tackle for loss. The only thing you can do is try to mitigate him and throw away from him. I don't think you're going to see Patrick Mahomes throw the football around where he is. I think that they're going to scheme around it because they don't want to worry about him.
That's true.
I don't think so.
I don't think you completely go away from him because there's going to be times. I think part of the short passing game in particular with the slot receivers and Kelsey is going to be about putting Fred Warner in conflict so that he has to make some kind of choice dependent on his rules of engagement.
Passions, yeah.
Exactly. And so I don't think you go completely away from him, but you're right. He's going to get he's an elite player. If there's any one linebacker that you would put on Travis Kelsey, it might be him. I think there's some other speedier guys.
That's my thing. We'll see if they do it. But if you line up Travis Kelsey in the slot and you see Fred Warner follow him, I'm throwing the football over the middle of the field all day. Rasheed Rice, go over the middle of the field. Everybody, slant. Just do that. But I don't think he does because you can't give the Chiefs the middle of the field. That you can't. They will just they'll eat it alive.
Yeah, I don't think that they do that. I think you'll see some combinations. There will be times, but I don't think it's going to be a track in man the whole day. I think that would
for sure
put their defense at too much of a disadvantage. Okay, that's going to wrap it up for us, folks. There's one more question, but Brother Bob, I appreciate the super chat, and if you had kept it nice, I would have put it on the screen. You think the Niners win 34-27? And you're not sorry for Dan. Okay, that's cool. But, if you just could have not had to dumb it down for us and attack a little bit, I'd put you on screen. But nonetheless, thanks for the $2, Chuck. Appreciate you. More nicotine gum. Was the fighting and frustration from Kelsey and the O during the training camp an indication of how good the defense was or how bad the offense was? Both or none of the above? I think in training camp, it was just, hell, I'm old and these guys are getting fired up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And just Brother Bob, I appreciate you being in here. You were with us on the 49er channel. I appreciate you coming over here and just being around. And it's always cool to see the crossover like that. So, and that's just kind of how you are. So I appreciate it regardless. And again, it's hot. It's hot in the middle of Missouri, and this happens kind of every year. It just feels like sometimes emotions boil over. You guys are all they're away for multiple weeks together. And that always builds some things up. It just does. You don't see anybody else really. You guys only see these guys. And so it just kind of brings some fire up. And there's always going to be a little bit of animosity in training camp. So I just think that's what that was.
Well, Tony G, and this is not the official Tony G. This is Tony with an I. Hope the defense on the run holds up. I would like I have a feeling it's likely to end up like it did the Raiders in the same stadium, 34-17 Chiefs. Mark my words. We're going to mark your words. I'm not going to agree with you. Would you like me to go first on our predictions?
Sure, go ahead. You go ahead.
I am completely down for this chess match, and I do think it's coordinator and coordinator, it's guys executing. There'll be X factor players, but I don't think that's going to be the story of the game. I don't think it's going to take a single performance by a player or pair of players to change this whole game. It's going to be more about how do the systems attack each other. That's how it feels to me, and that I think breeds a closer game. So while I am a little bit different than I was on Locked On Chiefs for the Friday show, I have switched a little bit, and I did, for you Niners fans, had long talks with Brian Peacock and my guy Eric Crocker. We go back a ways, and they're convinced that this is going to be close as well. We are all kind of on the same page, and I just don't feel like anyone's going to be able to run away. I think the kicking game is going to be important, and I think that Bucker has the edge there pretty predominantly. Do I think he kicks the winner like I thought a couple days ago? Maybe not, but I do see this being close and possibly a last possession win. But I think that goes to the Chiefs. I have it 24-21.
All right. It's not too far off from what I have predicted. So, earlier this week I went on the same Chiefs 49ers channel, with Jesse and where brother Bob was. And I said that this is going to come down to a last possession game. Last possession game. And what we've seen from the Chiefs, what we've seen from Harrison Butker cannot be overlooked. Harrison Butker is the most clutch kicker in the NFL right now. Period. There is no one. I love Justin Tucker, but what has been asked of Harrison Butker in the last 5 years is different from any other kicker in the NFL. So that gives them, like you said, a big edge, and it's going to go back and forth. There's going to be points scored, but not to the extent we saw. I have it Chiefs win on last possession field goal from Harrison Butker, 27-24.
Okay. I like it. I'll take a W either way. I just don't care.
Exactly. It doesn't matter.
And I'll be honest, growing up, I was a Bears fan, and after that, I was a Niners fan. So when I was a little kid, that's where I was at until I actually came to Kansas City and found it. But so I hope that it's a good game all the way around. I hope for no injuries, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So this is a good one, and I'll put this one up because Bob's being a good sport, playing along. I think he wants to know what day you're coming back after they lose on the other show.
Yeah, we'll come back probably that week. Well, I'll get with Jesse and we'll do it. And like I said, I got no problems. If that's what happens, that's what happens. And I'll eat the crow and we'll do it upright.
But here's the thing, Bob. When the Chiefs win, he'll be here right after the game. So y'all come back, be nice. It'll be fine. All right, folks, we're going to call it there. Thanks for spending some Saturday with us. We know it's a Sunday game. Oh, we got one more. I can't even put it up. My kicker sucks. And you don't have Tyreek. Okay, fair enough. We're going to have a good time. We hope you have a good time. I personally would like to shout you guys out. If you would hit my social media at Ryan Tracy NFL with any of your Super Bowl food favorites. We're gonna break down some stuff on the other channel for you Niners fans. If you're not into food, whiskey, beer, or something, I don't know what you're doing. But that channel's called RGR Craft, where we do some of that stuff. So I want to know what you guys are doing for Super Bowl. I'll have a couple of picks up on mine. We're doing kind of a cool spread. My wife's hard at work right now today, so
nice.
It's going to be a good time. But we will be live here post game, win, lose, or draw. Never mind. I guess there's no draws. This is less than the season. So as the confetti flies, we will be here. You guys come in and join us. If there's a win and you want professional coverage, be here the first 15 minutes because I'm cracking beers after that.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have a good time. We hope that you guys will join us. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Dan, I don't know. I hope you get a good night's rest. We'll see how the little one's doing, but this is going to be a big game.
It is, and that's it. Like I've been antsy all week. Like all week, I've been ready for this. So you guys, I'm not going to actually do anything too extravagant food wise. We're just going to do some nice little stuff everywhere. I don't have the energy to do all of that. Like maybe some other time, but like today I've got cupcakes done, almost done. I'm going to be doing some chicken sliders for dinner. And tomorrow we're just going to do some dips and some sausage rolls and some nice finger food stuff to keep my stress level down.
There you go. Antioxidants. It's going to be great. Folks, like, sub, hit the bell, especially if you're new or foreign to us. We hope that you have a great night and a great Sunday. Again, I'll have a little bit of clips here and there. I've got some cool guests coming. Make sure you're with us, and then we will be in party mode probably one way or the other there for the Super Bowl. So have a great one. Thanks for being with us today. We'll talk to you tomorrow.